Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the Post Route Show. And now, here's your host, W. Earl Kitchings.
Hey, good evening and welcome to another edition of the Post Route Show. I'm your host, W. Earl Kitchings. If you don't know, we're the show where we dive deep into conversations with Black quarterbacks, both past and present. This show is proudly brought to you by Quarter Phi Back, the preeminent fraternity of Black quarterbacks and home of the prestigious BIP Memorial Trophy, the only national award that honors and recognizes the top Black quarterback from HBCUs and the top Black quarterback from high schools around the country. Thank you for joining us. We're always excited to have you. If you want to support what we're doing here at the Post Route Show and Quarter Phi Back, it's very simple. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button so you can find us with the notification bell tapped. The notification bell so that the instant notification comes to you every Monday night at 7 p.m. for more phenomenal conversations with Black quarterbacks and quarterbacks experts. Hey, hit the like button so you can find us. Support us by also subscribing to the channel. You don't want to miss an episode. So when you hit that bell, you can always find us with the notification bell. Tap the notification bell and also follow us on Instagram at quarter_phi_back and get more interesting information and graphics. Join us here every Monday night at 7 p.m. for more phenomenal conversations. Well, we started an initiative here at the Quarter Phi Back and through the Post Route. We want to make sure that we continue to bring you that initiative because it is very important to what we're doing. And we want to make sure that when we do that, you know who we are and what we are about. So our initiative, if you're not familiar, is called I Am a Quarterback. And what that is this. It is a 5-point initiative related to the preparation and development of Black quarterbacks with the goal of remaining focused on the position of being a quarterback only a quarterback. So here's the 5 points. Number one, you got to believe. If you don't believe, you can't get there. So believe in being a quarterback is number one. Number two, you got to focus on being that position and set a foundation for yourself. There are a lot of steps to setting foundations, but you got to do that on a regular basis. Number three, a critical component is being a leader. Leadership and being a commander of your team is always going to be important, especially when you step between the lines. Fourth, and our guest can emphasize this to you as we talk to him tonight, intellect and academics and intellect. It's very important that you get your education. We got to focus on the academics so that the intellect follows and we can make sure that that's not an excuse for you being omitted or left out of the game. And then finally, you got to know what your worth and value is. That is a standard we want to focus in on. So know what your value and worth is if you're going to play this position of quarterback. These are our 5 points: belief, focus, being a commander, intellect, worth, and value. Now, getting to my guest tonight, and let me tell you, I am extremely excited to have this young man on the show tonight. We became friends some time ago, 20, 30 plus years ago, and I'm always glad to catch up with him. A product of Edison High School in Miami, Florida. He took his talents first by way of Albany State, and then he went to that place on the hill, the highest hill in Tallahassee, and became a FAMU Rattler from 96 through 97. In his junior year at FAMU, he set passing records, completing 172 out of 307 passes, 2,814 yards, 21 touchdowns. Then he came back the next year and broke those records, passing for 215 completions, 379 attempts for 3,292 yards, 25 touchdowns, earned Division I First Team All-American, MEAC Offensive Player of the Year, and First Team all MEAC honors. He was inducted into the FAMU Athletics Hall of Fame in 2006, and he earned his degree in construction engineering from FAMU before he later went on to earn his JD degree at Florida A&M Law School in 2011. He did play a few years in the Canadian Football League for Calgary, Toronto, and Ottawa. But man, I am excited about having my friend on tonight. Please join me in welcoming my guest tonight, Mr. Oteman, OT as we know him, Delancey. OT, welcome to the show, my man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that intro. It's been
Yes,
a
sir.
long
Well, you
time.
know I got to make it correct and proper, man.
I really
I got to
appreciate
do
that,
that for
man.
you, you
You
know.
made my day.
Uh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So when we got guys like yourself come on the show, man, with those kind of credentials, not only from a football side, but man, when we talk about the academic side, construction engineering, and then to go add your JD, your law degree to that. What a phenomenal career, man. So, hey, before we talk about that stuff, let's get back to some football. Out of Miami, a lot of talent in Miami. You played at Edison. How did you end up getting to Albany State, though?
So that's a wild story. It'll be you'll like this one. So when I came out, I was supposed to go to Texas Southern with Coach Highsmith.
Okay,
So Coach Highsmith was the head coach at Texas Southern, and then he was getting ready, but he I think the year I graduated was the year his contract ended over there, and he ended up going to FAMU. Well,
okay,
I was being recruited by three HBCUs, and partly because so I had some D1 offers, but they wanted me to, kind of
switch.
be like a combo switch, play DB,
Yep,
play receiver, play some
yep,
things like that.
yep.
And I had a head coach in high school that was just absolutely adamant about me being a quarterback. Didn't want, it encouraged me to just, hey, he said, you're a quarterback. Don't settle. Don't settle. Go to an HBCU. And I had three HBCUs at the time. I had Bethune-Cookman, who I was being recruited by Tyrone McGriff,
Okay,
FAMU great. And then I
okay.
had Albany State, and I was being recruited by Wayne Campbell, also a FAMU great. These
Wow.
guys played tackle right next to each other. So now
Exactly.
I'm being recruited by all FAMU offensive linemen, Highsmith, McGriff, and Wayne Campbell.
Ray
Imagine,
Campbell.
imagine that. So I go on a visit to Cookman, and I went on a visit to Albany State, and I ended up picking Albany State out of that group. But the story is amazing. And then Coach Highsmith landed at um, at FAMU, and right around the time I hit some turbulence at Albany State, and Coach High was like, "You ain't got no business over there anyway. You need to get over here tomorrow." And so I uh, I had to listen to old coach because I go way back with Coach Highsmith. So Coach
Right.
Highsmith was the head coach at Miami Edison when I was 8, 9 years old. He coached Greg Jones and all those guys down there, and I used to run and grab balls and be a ball boy, and so I remember Coach. I go way back with Coach Highsmith. Then he recruited my older brother there, Stacy Moore,
Yeah.
guy I grew up with, and Stacy was out at Texas Southern, and I was supposed to follow him out of Texas Southern and go and take care of business out there. But things work. God worked in mysterious ways. I went to Albany State. I was over there for a couple of years. Coach High said it's time to come home. I went to FAMU, and the rest is history. I had to sit out a year in '95 because back then when you transferred up, you had to sit out a year. It was the way
Yeah.
they kept Division ones
Yeah.
from recruiting from lower level colleges.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, that is a very interesting and entertaining story, man, because to have three Rattlers recruit you and none of them are at
yes,
FAMU, and then
yes,
you end up at FAMU. So it's like, okay, well, they were like just setting the table for you to eventually get to FAMU, which is great, man, because, hey, you got there and you put on that orange and green, and, man, all of a sudden you was a new man,
I was brand new, man. That
okay?
was a phenomenal experience.
And then you get over there and play with one of the most phenomenal head coaches, black iconic coaches ever, Coach Billy Joe. And
Billy Joe.
and I have such an affection and affinity for Coach Joe because the first thing Coach Joe is going to hit you with is that diction and that tone of voice. Men, let's go, men.
That's right.
He's just going to lock you in. He going to
That's
lock
right.
you in right away. So,
100%.
so you get to play with a great coach. And what was that like playing for Coach Billy Joe, man? Because it's like he takes over after Coach Highsmith. And I'm like, at that time, and we got to be acquaintances because I was working at Bethune-Cookman. And here
Oh,
you go
wow.
calling Coach Joe to FAMU. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And I think that was a great thing. I think that story is great, man, because you ended up where you're supposed to be.
That's right. That's right. And going to Coach Billy. So I had a very unique experience with Coach Billy, and I
Yeah,
love him to death because that's probably, I have a few influential figures in my life that were very, very impactful on me, and Coach Billy is
yeah,
one of those guys. I got a chance to spend a whole 95 season, the 1995 season, in the press box. Coach Billy coached from the press box.
yep,
So I
yep,
spent the
yep,
entire season in the press box with Coach Billy, analyzing the offense and tracking plays and basically understanding the way he saw things and the way he think and the way his vantage point and his outlook on football. And I tell folks all the time, if the play he called is the play you ran, you better make 100% sure that it worked because
right,
he
right,
would Coach Billy was looking for you to do what made sense. He called the play, but he always felt like you had the best vantage point for calling plays. And it was the reason why I say it was a phenomenal experience because Coach Billy would call a play and the play wouldn't work. And then he turned around to me and said, "Would you have run that play?" And I'm like, "Coach, I just heard you call that play. What are you saying?" And ultimately I figured out what he meant by that ultimately. And then so when I took over in '96, there were games where I called the whole game. I just didn't even take a play from
yeah,
the sideline
yeah,
because
yeah,
I knew he gave me a play, but he didn't necessarily want me to run a play that didn't work. He wanted me to run a play that worked. And
got you.
so we I learned a lot. I just learned so much. I can go on and on. I have so many stories when it comes to Coach Billy. I can
Hey,
go on
hey,
forever.
OT, when Coach Billy came to FAMU and he came into the MEAC, when they had the Florida Sports Writers Media Day Conference, Mr. Alvin Hollins, who was the SID at FAMU at the time, could not make that trip. So guess who had to introduce Coach Billy to the media?
You had to do that. You had that
I
job.
I had to do that, man. Here I am, the SID for Bethune-Cookman,
Wow.
but I got to introduce Coach Billy to the media from FAMU. And for those who know, being a FAMU graduate, I know people, they used to rib me about working at Bethune-Cookman. But hey, man, I'm trying to have a job in a career, But that was how I first got to meet Coach Billy. And then in 2000, to be hired at FAMU to work as the marketing director and work with Coach Billy and be a part of those years with him, man. I mean, just a phenomenal guy. Just a
Oh
phenomenal
yeah.
guy.
Oh yeah. First class. You can't find a more first class, top notch coach and professional.
Yeah,
I enjoyed working with him so much. Coach was very dedicated to the game. I just absorbed so much from
right.
Coach as a professional. He's one of the guys I think about when I'm faced with tough challenges and I'm
Yeah,
trying to hold on to discipline and things like that. Coach Billy is one of those kind of guys you think about because you think about how much football was a 24-hour job for him
yeah,
and how much
yeah.
he poured into his players and poured into us as players to be good at what we do. And it was just he's a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal guy.
I think one of the one words that just resonates when coach was not really happy with guys or they weren't performing, he called them Coach, he's out there being junkyard.
Yes, yes. JYD. That was
He's
coach.
just junkyard, coach.
Yeah,
He doesn't want any pads, coach.
yeah.
He's
That's
trying
right.
to dunk the play.
That's, that's right. That's right. That's right. That was good. That was a baby. We all still use that word to this day. When I talk to my old team, that's JY, coach. That's just JY, because that's JYD, coach. That's junkyard, coach. We all say that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
well,
right.
OT, you had two phenomenal years of quarterback in the Rattlers, man. I mean, your junior year was phenomenal, but then you come back and top that even more so and become first team All American, All MEAC, and Offensive Player of the Year. Uh,
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that particular season in particular, man, because it's your last year, my last year of college. How am I going to go out, man? And man, you shot off all the fireworks that year.
Like I say, um, the FAMU, the whole FAMU experience was storybook, because, and it was just a fortunate time to run
Yeah,
into the coaching staff that I ran into at with Coach Billy and Coach Jimmy, and Coach Bogan.
yep,
Those guys, they're just phenomenal guys. And then like I said, I spent a year with Coach in '95 figuring out, and I think, and it was so incidental because I learned the way he thought, the way he saw things, and the way he wanted things to be done and ran, and the way he wanted to operate as an offensive genius. He didn't want to call plays and you just run what he called. And every coach tell you, hey, if you see something you don't like, check it off and audible, run an audible. But um, coach had a different idea. He wanted to win every down, and
absolutely,
um, and
absolutely.
so once I figured that out, in '97, he really let me call the games. I would call entire games. And then I remember one time we were playing South Carolina State in Orangeburg, and it was
Mhm.
coming down to the wire. And I got on the phone with coach. Like, I would get on the phone with him between every turn, every
Yeah,
transition of ball. When defense is on the field, I'm on the sideline, I'm on the phone with coach, and he's up in the press box. And I'm like, all right, coach, what you want to do? And he's like, it's all on you, baby. You just gotta keep going,
wow,
do what you do. And
wow,
and I was passing a lot in South Carolina State. They started dropping 10. They
right?
were in a three man front, and they would just send a nose guard, and they started dropping 10. So I'm like, okay, I got Kenny, I got Big Kenny, but we got
Yeah,
to drive and score. So I used to call these shallow crosses, and I hit Lamb. I hit Canaan
mm,
on a crosser, and he took it all the way down to like the 1 yard line or inside the 5 or something like that.
right,
And then we called that four wide out sprint draw option. So it was the point I'm making is that in '97 he really let me turn me loose a little bit in terms of flexibility and calling the entire offense and calling the whole show. And we were a pass happy offense, and so it really turned up in '97. So when that season ended, we the greatest thing about, I think, what happened with FAMU was that I had of 4 freshman wide receivers.
mm, okay,
I had a whole campaign of freshman wide receivers. All the veterans had got hurt. Marvin
wow,
Taylor had hurt I think he had broke his clavicle or something like that. Andre Williams, who was a rock star as a wideout, he had a hamstring or something like that. John Rutledge had blew out his knee. And so I had Cedric Mitchell, I had Jaquay Nunley, I had Keenan Lamb, I had Demetrius Bendross and Tyreek
intro,
Kayam. Yeah, Demetrius Bendross, and I had Tyreek Kayam. And we had to go with that. And them guys were extremely talented. I don't know if you remember homecoming in '97. Jaquay went for like 289 yards, and he took off. He exploded. A lot of those guys exploded in that '97 campaign, and then they
yeah,
also took off in the playoff game against Georgia Southern, where we put up 538 yards in total offense. I think that was probably the turning point in making all those All American honors, and all of those a lot of the accolades came from doing 538 yards against Georgia Southern.
Well,
But
of that 538, man, I think what you have 465 in passing.
yeah,
You know, y'all,
465 passing,
yeah,
70
Big
something
Kenny didn't
rushing.
get much run. You just throwing the ball. But hey, were you the first quarterback that helped to start the Gulf Coast offense, or did it come after you left? Because that Gulf Coast offense that Coach Billy installed, man, it became so deadly because I know Patrick Barner came, Jaywan Sider came, Quinn Gray came, but they all came after you. So were you the guy who kind of started that?
So I give that credit to Mario Allen.
Okay, okay,
In 95, Mario Allen and Damian Slaughter were kind of sharing the helm. Damian
mm,
Slaughter he was a really good quarterback, but he was more he threw a lot on the run. Billy kind of had a sprint style rollout offense with Damian, and Damian had a really strong arm and he would make plays. And then I think down the stretch, you got to understand who Coach Billy is. Billy had a really pro style mind when it
yep,
came to winning. He just knew how to win and put players in and get the most out of them and put them in the best position. And Mario came in and came with that. Mario bought a passing pro style passing game to FAMU in
yeah,
'95, right at the end with him and Toon and Tony Bland and Robert Wilson and Jamie Bell and Stick. Um, uh, and those guys kind of Mario kind of kicked it off because he was making those adjustments and going up top and throwing a checking off to the pass game, because we
yeah.
would have some conversations and say, "Hey, Mario, you gotta start throwing that thing, man." So when you saw him bring Mario in, you knew it was about to be an air show.
Okay,
So
okay,
so Mario Allen, I think Mario Allen kicked it off. I was in the press box at the time. I kind of blew it up a little bit, and then by ending my campaign with four freshman wide receiver who understood the assignment,
mm-hmm,
those guys I think carried it. And Pat Bonner Pat was just phenomenal. I mean,
yeah,
it was insane how great Pat Bonner was with the offense. I mean, he just exploded it.
yeah,
Make my numbers look like child's play,
right,
for the most part. And then he did all of that stuff in like 7 or 8 games. Like
yeah,
he had to earn the job first through Lariano and some other quarterbacks that were all rotating. Coach Billy was just figuring out who was his guy. And I think probably 3 or 4 games in, he figured out that Pat was the guy, and then Pat just exploded, and everybody had a great time eating. Pat fed everybody well. He was a real
oh yeah,
general.
no, no,
And
no
then
doubt. I mean, because when you talk
and
about a guy, first of all, Pat Bonner came to FAMU. He transferred from Temple to FAMU, and he only had one season. So
That's right.
all that yardage he compiled in that Gulf Coast, and
And
then
one
the
season.
name, not only the Gulf Coast, but then the nickname the Rack Boys started. So now it's like
You're
run
right.
after catch, and he's just hitting guys with play
And
with passes, and they're making plays after they catch the ball, and that's what started that.
so
But yeah, go ahead.
so if you want to trip, I think the thing that people sleep on the most is that freshman core of wide receivers in '97, they went for 4 years. And if you follow the
Yep.
Gulf Coast, the explosion of the Gulf Coast offense, you have to follow the Rack Boys more
Yeah.
than anything,
Yeah.
because they were the guys that, if you threw Jaquay a 5 yard route, that shit was going, it was
Yep.
going, 80 yards. If you threw
Yep.
Canaan Lamb a 5 yard crossing route or a seam route, it was going. Them guys
Yeah.
just didn't go down. And that was I attribute that a lot of that to Miami football. Like Miami
Okay.
football is about backyard, let's get it. Let's like
Gotcha.
it's about scoring it. Growing up playing
Yeah.
football down there made football very easy. In '97, we had 18 starters out of Miami. Coach
Wow.
Highsmith went down south and shook the trees,
Yeah.
took all the big ripe mangoes and brought them to Tallahassee, and um,
Wow.
and fed the machine. Um, but 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 the Gulf Coast, I think, I don't attribute much. I don't attribute it very much to quarterbacks as much as I attribute it to the Rack Boys, because and the explosion of it was in 90, from 97. They took off, and and it started in 97. Um, and then it went through. But I attribute the start of it to Mario, for opening up the passing lane and opening up the idea of running a passing offense and running the Gulf Coast offense and making it inspirational. And then I came in 2 years, and then Pat blew it up beyond, made it
Yeah.
abnormal. And for guys like Sider and Quinn Gray and Casey and all those guys that came and took it a lot further, um, I think it I think it caught fire with the Rat Boys.
Well, to have that span of success with that many different quarterbacks, but I think you're correct. But the other part, though, OT, is you said 4 freshmen started performing in their freshman year as if they had been on the squad for a couple of years. Freshmen are not supposed to come in and perform
That's,
at that
it,
high of a level. I mean, not okay, maybe
you're
one
not
guy, but
you're
four
not a
guys.
freshman coming out of Miami. You I'm just being 100.
Okay,
I'm being
okay,
100. When you coming out of Miami back then, I mean, I'm not, obviously I'm not familiar with it now, and even still, when you coming out of Miami, the way football was played down there, uh, Pop Warner and off the field, just is you're not a freshman, you're a
yeah,
baller, and
yeah,
so you just it's second nature.
got you.
You got guys that will catch a low pass and roll over on the ground and catch it and make sure they catch it. A guy out
Yeah,
of Miami will scoop that out the ground with one hand, keep his feet, and make plays upfield. And you're like, what the heck is that? What was that? That's you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
When you play
yeah,
so
yeah.
much, and that's how I just they weren't freshmen, and I didn't talk to them like freshmen.
Okay, okay,
I was a senior, they were freshmen, but I talked to them like, I was very very direct, and Quay would come and say, hey, I say, Quay, what you see? He said, I can get him on a post on a I could get him on the in and out, and all right, let's get it.
okay,
Kanan, what you see? Oh, I can get him on this. So and Coach Billy gave us a lot of flexibility. So we had like, and I did that across the board. Tyreek, Cam, the same way. Ben Draws
yeah,
the same way. We come in. We didn't huddle, so it was like they run in and tell me what was going
yeah,
on and what they
yeah,
saw and
yeah.
what they could do, and we took off like that. A lot of it was like that, and then Billy would come in and say, hey, listen, we gotta start running a little bit, and then I would give Kenny a 35 dive or something like that, or Antoine Flowers, give him a free route, and he was electric with those. You get him in space, and it was insane. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Coach Billy was a genius in what he was doing, and it was just so much fun.
I think the word you just said, man, captures it all. It was electric. It was electric. It was
It was.
electrifying. Fans came to the game, alumni came to the game because it was going to be electric. You're going to see something.
Oh
Something going to
yeah.
make you be like, yeah, wow, ooh, ah, yeah, oh my goodness. Um, and before we go to break, man, I got to tell you, in 1999, I had to go to make a presentation to the widow of Willie Gallimore for the College Football Hall of Fame. And ironically, the night that I was there to make the presentation, FAMU was playing Southern. And Southern and Coach Pete Richardson had said something early in the week that somebody was going to get embarrassed in Bragg Stadium on Saturday night. Now, they the number one HBCU football team in America, but he was kind of feeling himself. And I heard that Coach Billy put the article on the blackboard, And oh my goodness. And
Oh
while
yeah.
they were having fun out there on the field, OT, man, I'm up there. Guess what side of the stadium I'm sitting on?
You you was on the press box side.
I'm on the press box side. You know that's the visitor side.
Southern was on that side.
I'm sitting in the middle of the Jaguars
Wow.
with my FAMU
Wow.
Letterman jacket on. I'm sitting in the middle of them.
Wow.
And they, soon as I came up there, you know what they said? Where you going, little grass snake? Oh, 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 it's on now. So
Yes.
that first drive, man, J1 took the team down the field, man. 2 minutes, 2:15, and I'm jumping up saying it only took 2 minutes. It didn't take but 2 minutes, man. And we kicked off, man, and smacked them at the 10, picked up the fumble, ran it right back in. So at the end of the first quarter, it was 28-0, and I'm screaming on the sideline, Coach Richardson, you can put your first team in now. But man, that was a night. But they put on a show that night. But like you said, it was electric.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
was electric. So to have been kind of like at the early part of that, man, but still a part of it, and just watch it go from 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. Man, those were some electric years. And Coach Joe made it that exciting. So man, wow. To be a part of that
Oh
and to
yeah.
talk about it from that standpoint. And then your senior year, man, you just showed what you could actually do. So it just kept, rolling like a steamroller, man. So, hey,
Yeah.
that was some great times to be in Tallahassee and be playing in that orange and green, man. Some great times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We had
OT,
a
I
lot of
got
fun.
to take this break, man. I got to take this break, but we're gonna
For
come back and
sure.
talk a little bit more FAMU football, and but then I will definitely want to talk about your career since that time, man, because you've had some phenomenal things happen. So stay with me. We'll be
Absolutely.
back after this time out, and we'll finish it up.
Thank you very much
Hey,
for
my
being on
guest
the
tonight
show.
is the phenomenal, all-American, all MEAC All MEAC Player of the Year in 1997, Mr. Oteman-Delancy. Man, my guest tonight, my friend, glad to have him on. But we're going to take this quick commercial break, and we want to talk about our friends at J. Markell Watches. The J. Markell Watch Company is the proud watch provider, official watch provider of the BIP Memorial Trophy for 2026. They make some fine timepieces. Their slogan is luxury automatic watches crafted for generations. If you want a fine timepiece, hey, you don't have to go far. Hit them up at jmarkellwatch.com. That's JMARQUEL watch.com, and ask them about their fine line of products. Tell them you heard about them on the Post Route Show and congratulate them for being the official watch provider of the BIP Memorial Trophy in 2026. Then, if you want to do a little bit more to help us out here at the Post Route and Quarter Five Back, order some of our gear, please. Our hoodies are available. Our T-shirts are available with our official logo on them. So go to our website at quarter5back.com. Click on the store. You can get the hoodie. You can get the T-shirt. And as we get into football season in 2026, we're getting ready to bring some additional merchandise items to you. One of them, hey, I'm having mine right now out of our Quarter Five Back coffee mug. And then lastly, if you want to know more about a guy like a Oteman Sampson, let me tell you, you can find out about all these outstanding quarterbacks between 1903 and 1990, because that is an era that we don't talk much about or hear much about. You hear about these guys from Oteman's era and beyond, but the guys who are the foundation, the cornerstones for black quarterbacks before 1990, that's what this book contains. So, hey, the Forgotten QBs, the little known history, statistic, and information about black quarterbacks who played the American college football game. $35 is the cost. Go online and get our book. Now, our resident mental performance specialist is also with us tonight, again, giving you another episode of Psyched Up. So here's Dr. William Kitchings Jr. giving you another.
Your heart rate spikes. Your palms sweat. Your breathing gets short. Most athletes think that means something's wrong. It doesn't. I'm Dr. William Kitchings Jr., and this is Psyched Up. We've spent 10 sessions building the system. Goals, identity, confidence, habits, focus. Today, we get into the thing that tests all of it at once. Pressure. And before you can perform through it, you have to understand what it actually is. Research on arousal and performance shows something most athletes were never taught. Pressure isn't a malfunction. Performance actually improves as psychological arousal increases, up to a point. But here's what most people miss. That point is different for every athlete. Individual zones of optimal functioning shows that each athlete has their own zone, a range of arousal where they perform best. Some quarterbacks play their sharpest when they're calm and controlled. Others need to be highly activated. Most land somewhere in between. There is no universal right answer. There's only your zone. So here's the work. Think back to 2 or 3 of your best performances. Not the result, the feeling. How activated were you going in? Start identifying a range that shows up consistently in your best work. Because you can't find your zone in the moment if you've never looked for it before. Pressure was never the problem. Not knowing where you perform best in it, that's the problem. Find your zone, and pressure becomes something you recognize instead of something that catches you off guard. I'm Dr. William Kitchings Jr., and this is Psyched Up, a space built for the moments behind the moments.
Well, there you have it from our resident mental performance specialist, Dr. Will Kitchings Jr. Hey, pay attention because he's always got some good stuff. We're going to welcome back to the show my guest tonight, my friend, Oteman, Sampson-Delancy. Hey, OT, welcome back
Yes,
to the Post
sir.
Route Show, man.
I lost you.
OT, you there? Gotcha. Okay.
Got you.
So Dr. Kitchings was talking about pressure and how to perform under pressure. Talk a little bit about what pressure was for you when you played collegiate football, or even when you played in Canada, because the uniqueness of playing in Canada is different football, 12 men, bigger field, wider field. Talk a little bit about pressure and how you cope.
When it comes to, it's I think most athletes have the same issue of figuring out how to ignore the crowd and focus on the game and focus on assignments. And once you get to that side of your mind, it's not really pressure. It's just knowing what to do. And I think a lot of it has to do with being able to just ignore all of this, I guess, outside noise,
Yeah.
all of the noise of the crowd, the noise of expectations, the noise of everything that brings you away from the assignment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it's not pressure anymore. It's just doing what you know how to do.
And it's part of that, maybe, as they say, getting in the zone, man. I mean, because when you feel in the game, you get in the zone, man. You definitely are blocking everything out when you get in that zone,
Everything
man. It's
out.
like
Yeah.
see, you're just performing so fluidly. It's like, man, I'm in the zone right now, man. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. It's like I call it well, I don't call it, just when you start studying like flow states like that, finding flow, where action and awareness is happening all in the same at the same time, like your
Mm-hmm.
body and your thinking, and you're doing and thinking at the very same time, almost lockstep. Once you get into that to that state of consciousness, it's hard to like be deterred or be taken off, because taking off your pivot, or taking your focus away, because you got body and mind all moving in the same direction, and you're processing and doing at the same time. You're not,
Hmm.
when you start off, you're processing and then you're doing. There's just a little gap between doing and processing, or you're doing without processing and coach is calling you stupid,
Right.
or you're processing and then doing and coach is calling you slow. What the hell are you
Right.
doing?
Right.
But then when you start doing and processing at the same time, at the speed of the game,
Yeah.
the whole game slows down. And all of a sudden, you start doing some really phenomenal things. And I think that's a flow state that you're trying to get to. And sometimes it takes half of the game to get there. Sometimes you can get there with a big play at the beginning of the game, and then now the whole game is just going to be a great day. And then sometimes you're stumbling through the whole game because you can't find your focus, and
Yeah.
you're not processing and doing it at the same time. And that's the I think the greatest thing you can do in sports is find that flow state, finding flow. Like when I got my kids, I brought my kids up playing basketball, and I was always trying to, get them to find flow by turning them up. I try to turn them all the way up, and that was my way of getting them to find that flow state, is just by turning them up. And sometimes I have to cuss them out to do that, but you know,
You
it's the
encourage
it's
them
a life
strongly. You
it's a
encourage
life
them
of
strongly.
coaching. Well, we're competing. I used to say, hey, listen, don't count anything I say when we're in the middle of competition and we're competing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nothing I say, I'm just trying to get you to a certain state. So don't hold that to me at dinner tonight, or when this game is over. Don't hang that on my over my head. I'm going crazy with you. I need you to be as crazy as I am right now.
Ah,
So I'm gonna go crazy with you because you got to get to this flow state that I'm trying to get you to.
okay. Okay. Now, I've heard athletes talk about how when they kind of get into the game, or at certain points, man, games, everything just slows down. I mean, I don't really know what that feels like. So when athletes say that, what actually is happening when you say, man, the whole game just kind of slowed down? What's going on in processing or understanding what's going on about that time when it just like everything seems to be working out?
It's like I said, it's when you hit that mind, that state of flow, when action and awareness, everything just makes sense. And
Okay.
so I
Okay.
give you an
Okay.
example. When I walk up in 97, in 96, if I had 8 seconds on the play clock, that sped me up a little bit. In
Yeah.
97, 4 seconds on the play clock was an eternity.
Yeah.
I feel like I had all the time in the world to
Okay.
make adjustments with four
Okay.
seconds. With 4 seconds, I could walk out. I could walk out and tell Jaquay, give me a decision route, get back, and still get
Okay.
and keep Morris to
Okay.
snap the ball when the 1 second is rolling down to zero.
Yeah.
That's the game slowing all the way down, and because you're in a state of flow. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Yeah. I
that
get it.
play
I get
clock.
it.
And sometimes even out here in business, I get lured into thinking I have time that I really don't have because I'm like, you know, I always go back to equating things to I got 5 seconds on the play clock. I got plenty of time. I can call three more plays in that time frame. And you see
Wow.
guys do it in the NFL all the time. You see it's 5 seconds on the play clock. They're still barking out calls
Yeah.
and changing plays. That's so if you imagine that, think about how much the game is slowed down. You're controlling 11 players and you're identifying 11 players on defense and figuring out what you're going to do, and you only have 5 seconds left on the play clock.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
that's really slowed down, if that makes
Okay.
sense. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. I
it's
get it.
just I think it's just that state of flow that you're in. You're so locked in that it just shows how powerful the mind is
Absolutely.
when
Absolutely.
it's
I
when
get
it's
it.
locked in. Yeah, yeah.
When you went to the CFL, what was the one adjustment that really had you had to really focus in on and really drill down on to make sure that you could perform? What was that one thing that was kind of different going to the CFL that you really had to just focus in on and work on?
My receiver to the wide side of the field couldn't hear me.
Okay.
That
Okay.
joker was way out there. So
Send him a
we talking
text,
about.
OP.
I
Send
had
him a
to send.
text.
I had to send him a text. He was out there. It was 65 yards, rear wide field. It was a
Yeah.
different style of game, guys moving before the snap,
Right.
timing that up and figuring out what those opportunities are. It's only three downs. So, that was a wild adjustment. There was a lot of adjustments, but it was still football. It was still good football.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the adjustment was the play style of guys moving downhill and getting into routes a lot sooner
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
being able to time that up. The
Yeah.
timing of routes it was a little different. Timing the slot guys getting upfield and then throwing that wide side hitch or those wide routes. You kind of had to sling the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, because it was just it was a really far throw. He threw almost 40 yards just to pick up five.
Wow. Yeah,
So it was
that
an
game.
adjustment.
Yeah, that game is pretty interesting. And for those who have not seen Canadian football, you owe yourself an opportunity just to watch the game and soak it in, because it is different being that it's wider and you got that extra man. And when you see guys running lateral and then all of a sudden they go vertical, and by the time the ball is snapped, man, they at full speed, you know,
Yes,
and you got to,
yes,
those defensive backs got to deal with it. But as a quarterback, you got to catch it with that guy too, because he is gone,
he's
you know,
gone.
and you got to
And
deal with, okay, how do I adjust to that?
yeah, I didn't realize how different it was until in 2001. I came back and played in the XFL for San
Yeah.
Francisco Demons out in San Francisco, and
Okay.
that was basically I had got acclimated to the Canadian game. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I had missed American football until I came back and started playing in the XFL. And I was like, man, I need to be playing over here in the States.
See.
It was it was just so different, like
Yeah.
coming back. And they had gunners in the XFL. They had one guy could go downhill in the slot in the same way they did in Canada, but you could see the difference. I really felt the difference in the games.
Okay.
But I had a great time in Canada, phenomenal time.
Did you have a guy, a quarterback, while you were in Canada that was kind of a mentor to you while you were there to kind of help you to even become a better quarterback or understand how to play the game a little bit better? Did you have a guy like that?
Yes, I would say pretty much all the quarterbacks that most of the quarterbacks that I would say most of the quarterbacks that I work with in the CFL, the thing about professional sports is that you kind of have to go and you got to kill the motor, right? You
Yeah.
can't you can't go in there trying to, with the same ambition you had in college. I got 4 years, I need to get in here and I need to be starting and I need to be playing. You kind of got to go in and realize that, hey, listen, this is a professional level. You can play this for 10 years. So, trying to out hustle everybody and start, it's better to just chill and learn.
Yeah.
I had to find that out the hard way. But guys like Dave Dickinson, who's up there, I think he's a head coach actually at Calgary now. He was a pretty good mentor. Mike McCoy, who became the head coach for the San Diego Chargers a while back. I don't know if he's still coaching in the league, but Mike McCoy was a good mentor. I had Curran Bell. I was in middle school when Curran Bell was playing at UF.
Right.
But he was great with advice and kind of playing and he was like, man, I sat behind Doug Flutie for 7 years. So he
Wow.
kind of put it in perspective,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
playing with him in Toronto and then it was just it's a couple guys. They were very, you know people in the quarterbacks that I played behind. um and ultimately I did get an opportunity to start a couple games and I got injured. But the quarterbacks that I played behind, they were really good guys. Jeff Kemp, he was a player up there, that was pretty good. Henry Burris, who came to coach, he was the offensive coordinator with Cozy last year.
Yeah,
Henry
yeah.
Burris. Henry Burris was he played ahead of me at Calgary, and then he went on to have a great career in the CFL, playing with Saskatchewan and some other teams. But
Okay.
Henry Burris was a great mentor for me. These I would say a lot of those guys were really great mentors in terms of talking about the game and basically telling you, hey, look, man, when you're at this level, you kind of gotta play a different, you gotta play this different. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
You gotta kind of get into a learning mode. You gotta build experience, watch, learn. Get in where you can, get in where you fit in. But for the most part, and I didn't have that mindset. Um, but I learned it, and then my son was born, and I was like, nah, I gotta go home now.
I hear you.
All right, guys. It's like, all right, guys, playtime's over. It's time to go home. And
Real life is kicked in. I gotta go.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
So OT, now you got your degree in construction engineering, which means you're an engineer, and then you go to law school and become an attorney. Talk a little bit about those two dynamic degrees, engineering and law, and how you're making them, mesh with you in today's time.
So, um, so after I came out of construction, so it's construction engineering technology, with FAMU. I came out of that, and and this is why I absolutely love FAMU. They always took care of me,
Yeah.
the administrators and the folks there. So I was fortunate to get, when I went to the CFL, I had two offers, companies that offered me to. They allowed me to go play in the CFL and come back and work when
Okay.
in the off season.
Okay.
And so I did that for the 4 years that I was in the CFL, and then when I came back and started working full time, probably about a few years in, I decided that, um, I wanted to I wanted to do something a little extra. Initially, I thought about like PharmD, pharmacy school, stuff like that. My
Okay.
wife, my wife has a PharmD, and she has a JD MBA from Stetson, but she had
Okay.
graduated from FAMU with a PharmD, and she was pretty much making, she's working part time and making more than me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I uh, I said maybe I got the wrong degree, and then she said, you probably be better off going to law school because you're a scatterbrain. And I went and I took that advice, and I applied to law school at FAMU. Initially applied in 2002. I got in the inaugural class, and I took another contract in Canada, and I didn't apply again until 2007.
Okay.
And Dr. Humphreys was down there, and so I got a chance to visit with him a lot because he took care of me in '97 with
Gotcha.
at FAMU, and I used to
Gotcha.
preside over cluster luncheons and things like that. But decided to go back to law school. Construction was tough. It was because I was on the construction management side, so it was tough, because you're dealing with bonding requirements, labor laws, contracts. It was just a lot going on with construction.
Right.
And my wife had just come out of law school and joined the bar, so I looked at some of her contract books and I started going through it, and that kind of inspired me to go to law school. So I went in
Okay.
2007, graduated in 2011, took the bar, became a member of the bar in 2012 or 13 or something like that.
Okay.
And then and that was kind of my and merging the two. It's so easy if you have a foundation in construction, it's so easy to apply the legal stuff because it's just so much contractually going on in
Yeah.
construction that you get a legal background, it almost fits like a hand in glove. And so I've been working in that space for, construction space for 30 years now, since '94, um when I joined, uh I joined the program in '95, but I had worked on a construction site in '94. But
Okay.
for the last 30 years, I've been in commercial construction space, and for the last uh, 10, 12 years, I've been in the construction and legals, both
Yeah.
space combined. So it's been a real journey and working both spaces and kind of, you know, trying to stay on the leading edge of state of the industry um activities.
Well, obviously, you found a way to make both of them work for you, and you're doing a great job at it because I know you are just that kind of individual where once you get involved with something, you lock into something, man, you just are locked in. So, kudos to you for not only going into the construction field, but then going back and getting your JD, man, and now you're putting all of that work in, and I'm glad everything's working out for you, and I'm sure it's been a joy with you and your family, having all those kinds of things working out for you guys, especially you and your wife. Man, two attorneys in the house at the same time. Man, how does that work?
Huh? It
I
it
said,
it 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 just, my wife runs the show. It's
I
not
got
very
you.
it's not very complicated. It's there's five of us. There's five of us. We all vote, and then she has veto power.
Okay, I got it. That
But
works.
the conversations are interesting sometimes. At least to the kids, they are. It's like
Okay.
it's very interesting. She's brilliant in her own right, and does you know we have some interesting conversations.
Well, I can imagine how interesting it is, and I can imagine how interesting it is for your kids with two attorneys in the house. And when I see some of these lawyer firms on TV, and mom and or dad is a lawyer, and you see three, four kids, they all went to law school, and the firm just keeps growing and growing. And I don't have to call their name. I think you know what I'm talking about. But it's like, man, is that the pipeline? Dad started it, and once you hear that name, and it's easy to get in law school, and things just flow like that. So that's a good thing. That's
Yeah,
a good thing.
yeah. Well, I
Well,
definitely
my
hope my
man,
kids
I
go.
got to tell you, I got to get to the most important part of the show, man, because this is the part that I get excited about because this is where we bring all the guys who ever come on the show into what we feel is the most critical part of what we do. Because now, with you coming on the show tonight, my man Oteman O.T. Delancey, with you being here tonight, man, you don't have to go through that long pledge period like you would do in a regular fraternity. You have completed your walk across the burning sands, and we are proud to say, hey, welcome Oteman Delancey to the Brotherhood of Black Quarterbacks, known as Quarterfied Back, because you are now a lifetime member of the frat. Welcome.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I'm very grateful for that.
Well,
That's an awesome invite, and I appreciate the show, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's very inspirational, and have an opportunity to come and chop it up and talk about old times. I don't do it enough, and I'm very grateful that you've given me the opportunity to do it.
Well, I thank you for taking the invitation, man. Like I said, I'm just happy to have gotten a chance for us to reconnect, and now we have a reason to connect even more now. But we're enjoying having you in, and man, for everybody who understands and gets it, because we've had guys from 8 years old to 80 become a part of what we're doing. So now you add to that, you add another layer, you add another brick. You help us to continue to do what we do because the mission of preserving the legacy of black quarterbacks is so critically important, especially in the day and time when folks are trying to minimize our efforts and what our contributions have been. So thank you again, man, for being a part of what we're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Well, look, man, if you want to hang around for a little bit, no, I know you want to get back to your get ready to close out the night, so I'm not gonna hold you, but we'll catch up soon. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All
Our
right.
guest tonight, take care, OT, has
Yes,
been
sir.
a rattler, a true rattler, and he's been a part of the show tonight. So we're glad to have Oteman Delancey part of the show, part of the brotherhood, and we're just welcoming him in. So until next Monday night here from the Post Rock, I'm W. Earl Kitchings saying so long for now. As always, as we say, go deep and go for the bomb. Take care, everybody. See you next week.